Welcome to Relish Books. Today I'm talking about Silas Marner by George Eliot, and I am down visiting family again and recording this video from my mom's book storage room, as you can see. So, if you've watched my channel much at all, you know that I am not generally a George Eliot fan, but I had only read two of her books, Middlemarch and The Mill and the Floss, and I want to give her a solid chance, even though Middlemarch is kind of considered her masterpiece work. I don't personally like her style of writing, but I'm never going to deny or try to take away from the importance of her place in the history of literature and the way that her work has shaped other writers. Like, she's not personally one of my favorite writers, but she is one of the favorite writers of some of my favorite writers. So I deeply appreciate the place that her work has, but when I'm reading a novel, generally, her style is not what I personally am looking for. So, before people, this is controversial that I don't like her writing. Before people jump all over me for it, this is a personal opinion. Objectively, I can appreciate her work in the grand scheme of things, but all of that being said, I actually really liked this book quite a bit. I liked it way better than her previous work, partly because I think she kept it more simple. Her style was still not simple, but the story she's telling here was simple and sweet, and I could appreciate the story even while the writing still isn't my favorite. Even the writing I like better than her other novels that I've read because it worked better and she didn't go, because it's a shorter book, she wasn't just going as overboard. So it's a simple, sweet story. This hermit weaver who's had like everything taken from him, who's lost his faith in life, in people, in God. He's kind of just, lost his way. And then this child comes to him and just completely transforms his life. It's a sweet, beautiful story in its basic elements. And the thing about a simple stories are the best stories, right? The thing about a simple story is that great writing is what elevates it from simplicity to something marvelous. And I feel like this book definitely could have been that, but I feel almost like George Eliot's writing, while she's very capable and very knowledgeable, her over exposition, I guess, kind of holds the story back. Her style of writing is to have a constant introspective commentary on every action that her characters take. Every comment, everything that they do, she has to have a page of explanation on what human emotions and human thought processes and guilt and things that push us to do good or bad or whatever. She has to talk about that for a long time after everything that happens. So this book is very simple. It's short. It's a very short book, but it could have been way shorter if she didn't do that. And again, it doesn't get in the way as much as in some of her other books, but it's still kind of like, that's just her style. It feels almost like her stories that she's telling are really just the framework for all the thoughts that she wants to put forth about human nature. And some people love to read about that kind of stuff. And, it's smart, it's wise in a lot of ways. Most of her statements and observations on human nature are correct. I feel, reading it, you're like, yeah, this seems true, but can we get back to the story? Yes, everything that happens, we have to go inside this character's minds and examine their full thought process, and that can be really great and helpful in a lot of circumstances. She just does it all the time. Again, not as much in this book, and it only got annoying to me a couple times. Most of the time, she was keeping the story simple enough that those added things, I was like, it's a short book. I can deal with this. It's fine. I can read through this. It's no big deal. And I just feel like something about it is missing. It's hard to say what, because you read it and you're like, she has a great command of language. She obviously is full of knowledge and some wisdom about human nature, about people, about her characters. So why does it fall flat? Why is it not just stunning? And again, lots of people think that it is. But reading this, I felt like in all these passages just of exposition, I felt like I was just getting through it. Her overabundance of language actually kind of drags the book down. And even though it's smart and it's clever, it doesn't have that sparkle to it that like Dickens or Jane Austen has, where it's a delight to read their writing. Her writing just falls flat. It's a little dull. It's a little boring. Not because it's like too complicated to understand. It's not. It's overly written, in my opinion, and yet it's still clear and understandable. Like, this isn't something that's just for higher minds at all, but it's just a little boggy. You can get kind of bogged down in it. I felt that in every one of her books. Even though this one was only 150 pages, I still had that feeling, and the only reason it wasn't a problem was because it was short enough that I didn't get discouraged in trying to get through. And yeah, the story was sweet and the characters were enjoyable, but I feel like her own overwriting, just not even quite overwriting, but her desire to just put forth all her thoughts on human nature just get in the way of the story that she's telling. Even though it was a good story, I enjoyed it, and I would say that I like the book, and I would recommend it, I guess. And yet it still had this sense of dullness, of you're reading it just to read it, to get through, even though you kind of like it. I don't know. Those are my thoughts. I was pleasantly surprised because, again, not a huge fan, but this was definitely her best work that I've read. Based on this one, I might go on to read some of her other work, Daniel Deronda at least, because it's one of the more well-known. But I don't know. I was pleasantly surprised considering how much, well, I say that I don't like her work. I really did enjoy Middlemarch while I was reading it to a certain extent. It annoyed me, it frustrated me. Her constant, again, the constant commentary on everything that her characters are doing. It's like, just let the characters be. Let them speak for themselves. Let their actions show every cause and effect of what they're thinking and all this stuff that she overloads on you. Middlemarch, I really kind of have more of a thing against in retrospect, because it's so held up and I'm just like, not that great. So this one, I do feel like I had a clearer mindset approaching it, and I had much lower expectations. So I think that's why I liked it. But yeah, I did like it. So I have now read a George Eliot novel that I liked, which, I hadn't before. So I appreciate that. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Silas Marner. Let me know what you think. What's your favorite George Eliot novel, and what do you think of her as a writer? And I know you probably won't agree with me, but those are my thoughts. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.